and I walk the dog through the neighborhood. We live in a great neighborhood downtown. It's very good for my stress level, though, to start the day and to end the day. So, Sean, what are some techniques or some things that you've taken and incorporated to help control your own stress level?
Yeah, so some of the main things I've been doing, right? And I think this is two things real quick, and like two little quick steps because again, like I've reached a pretty good point of overwhelm during all this and a pretty good point of stress. And so what kind of the techniques, how I've been attacking this is one is really like simplify, right? Realize how much stuff you have in your space and what things in your space can you actually reduce? What things can you get rid of? What things can you reduce? So how can you reduce the amount of things in your space to reduce that stress, reduce the overwhelm? And then the other thing is like really not being afraid to ask for help, right? Like I said, I mean, we got 4 kids to all this, a baby and toddler, 3 toddlers. And so as far as like for mine and my fiance's like stress level, sometimes it's just asking for help, whether it's splitting the kids up between, the grandparents, brothers, sisters, whatever it is. But like, it kind of takes that team effort and not being afraid to ask for help from the people you have in your corner. So I think, to that point, really being aware of the resources that you have available, but letting down, because sometimes I think our pride and our ego gets in the way and we kind of just want to handle everything on our own, right? We want to be like, no, I can handle this. I'm tough. I can handle this. And I think we get in that mentality. And what happens, we reach to a point like that makes the stress go even further up. And we just kind of dig ourselves into a hole. So really simplifying the amount of things in your space and not being afraid to ask for help. Think about what resources you have, what people you have. You don't be afraid to actually just let your guard down, let your pride down a little bit, and just ask for some help where you need it. And from a mentality standpoint, something that's helped me tremendously is I have a client, he's a male, and he has 4 daughters. And I always ask him, I was like, how did you do it with 4 girls, man? I can't even imagine. Like, I've got 2 girls, they're dramatic, they're emotional. I was like, how did you do it with 4? He's like, man, I'll tell you. He's like, my life motto is, and I teach this to my kids, he said, my life motto is, it is what it is, right? And I thought about that for a minute. I was like, man, that has never been more true in my life than it has been in the last couple months of really just waking up every day, and no matter what comes your way, no matter what the next challenge that hit me was man, I had to tell myself, like, look, it is what it is, which means just accept the situation, right? Accept the situation, accept the challenge, embrace it, and say, okay, look, it is what it is. This happened. Okay, great. It is what it is. Now, what about this can I control, right? And I say the phrase, control the controllables, right? Because a lot of the times, a lot of the things that we stress about, a lot of the things that we worry about, we really have no control over, right? We can't change it. We can't change COVID-19. We can't change any of this. So going with it is what it is, control your controllables. That right there, just saying that anytime I face some stress really helps me get grounded and kind of just identify what's the next step for me. If it's something I can control, then great. What's the next step? If it's something I can't control, then I've got to let it go.
Yeah, I think that's great. So, if this is helpful for you, go ahead and type in there helpful. If any of this you're hearing today is helpful, I think the controlling what you control is super important, Sean, because it is what it is. That de-escalates things, because the problem is you get an open loop on things that you can't control, and there's no way to close an open loop on things you can't control, because of the point you can't control it. You can't close that loop. And as we talk about mental real estate, you've only got so much mental real estate available to you. So the idea is, how do I use that to the best? So if I use that mental real estate on things I can actually control, then I can get things done, and then my stress level goes down. If I eat it up on open loops of things I can't control, now then I have less mental real estate to help me get done the things I need to get done. And so we'll have that less real estate. Now I'm not getting things done I need to get done, and that only adds what? Adds stress. So I think those are a couple of things. Realizing it is what it is. And then 2, what can I control in this situation? Because that's where you get back into, we talk about all the time, the most stressful thing is the unknown. That's why, as a kid, you were scared of the dark. That's why you may still be scared of the dark. But it's because, it's unknown. You've got that unknown thing there. Your stress level goes down when it's known. So I think identifying that and then operating from the known is very helpful. So are there any other activities or rituals or anything like that you do on a regular basis, Sean, that you feel helps out?
Yeah. So for me, I mean, sometimes honestly, even if we have the kids, like sometimes just getting out and going outside and getting a walk, right? Getting a walk. So getting outside in nature and just walking and kind of taking everything in. Another thing that's worked really well for me is, because I have all the kids, what I've started doing is I've actually started waking up earlier before anyone else gets up, which in my house is pretty early because my youngest girl, she likes to wake up at like 6:15 every morning. But really like making it a point to get up so that I can just get up before everyone else. The house is quiet and I can just kind of sit with myself. I can sit with my thoughts and really start to process things for myself, because that's really the only time in my day where I've got like 100% just quiet, where it allows me to sit with my thoughts, allow me to process. And I kind of go through that process every morning of, all right, what are the things right now that I'm most stressed about that are consuming most of my mental real estate? And am I saying it is what it is? Like, am I allowing myself to think about, okay, if this is taking up this much mental real estate, what about this situation can I control? Okay, maybe two things. Cool. Let me focus on those two things, and I got to let everything else go because it's taking up way too much real estate. So getting up and like just finding that quiet moment where I can sit with myself and sit with my thoughts and really process how I can free up some of that mental real estate like you were talking about has been really helpful for me.
Yeah, I think to your point of carving out that time, that's super important. I know a lot of people did some of that whenever we were shut down because they didn't have to be in at the salon, they didn't have to be somewhere. It's one of the things we really recommend to a lot of our clients in the consulting world is to maintain that, still carve that time out. Like if you can get out and walk, get out in the fresh air. One thing's our good buddy, Shane, that does the breathing stuff. The breathing is amazing, getting where you're really breathing and connecting with your body. But one of the things that he recommends, which I think is very useful, if you can go outside and stand on the grass or stand in the dirt and just connect yourself with the earth and get grounded and take some moments to just breathe in and clear your mind, I think that's when you start to get clarity, Sean, to your point of what's really important and what can I control and what do I need to let go of today. I think one of the problems that people run into is they get up right away and they hit the ground running, especially when they got a bunch of little kids. That's super easy. So being intentional of carving that time out, I really think at the beginning of the day, at the end of the day, is super helpful. I'd like to know how many people in here, how many people of you have some form of carved out time, either in the morning or the evening? Put in morning or evening if you got carved out then, or if you got both, then put both. Just curious how many people have that going on right now. Super important, whether that's where you're going to do some meditation, or just think, I'd really love Shane's thing of, and if you ever meet him, most of the time the guy doesn't have shoes on. He's from Australia, but he's a great guy. Super peaceful, has a great Australian accent and all. Most of the time he's just not, unless it's required. Shane does not wear shoes. He's like, I want to be connected. But it's useful, whenever after he was at our event in Nashville, and everybody saw all these people outside with their shoes off the next day after he talked. But it was great, and it really does make a difference. I think we forget sometimes. Yeah, there's several people saying they have a morning routine going. That's cool. Just make sure that you guard that. I think it's super important to guard those times, because as we crank back up and we get things going, it's super easy to put on your Superman or Superwoman cape and decide you're just going to do everything all the time. And that's super dangerous. So make sure you have those times carved out. Anything else you want to add in, Sean, today before we wind up today's show?
Yeah. And as you're talking, I just want to talk about one more thing. And I think it's important for, it's important for me to understand this just, as a male, because as male, and I want to talk about emotions here is what I want to talk about, right? Specifically as males, we're kind of conditioned, like, look, hold in your emotions, like, don't cry, that's a sign of weakness. Don't, be tough, right? And, you know, even I know even a lot of females like, hey, look, be tough. You got to be strong, right? Be strong for your family. You know, with kids, like that's the thing, right? As a father, I want to be strong for my family. But I think something's very important to understand about stress is if we don't really tackle stress, like go at it with the mentality of it is what it is, what can we control? And the things that we can control, take it one step at a time. Don't try and tackle everything at once. But when it comes to emotion, stress is going to bring up emotion, right? 100% of the time. And what I want you guys to know, it's okay to take that time to let that emotion out, let it go. I can tell you personally through this, I've had some own personal cry sessions, right? And sometimes that emotion is going to build up. And if you don't allow that emotion to flow and you don't allow yourself to go through the emotion, that's going to make the stress and overwhelm even worse, right? So I just want you guys to know through this stress, whatever emotion you have, it's okay. Let that emotion release. I actually encourage you to let it go. Let it out. Do whatever you got to do. Cry, scream in a pillow, whatever you got to do. If you get a punching bag, hit a punching bag, whatever you need to do to get that emotion out. Let that emotion flow and go through the emotion, process the emotion, allow yourself to experience it. And you'll notice just after that, how much better you'll feel just after allowing yourself to experience whatever emotion whatever it is that you're feeling.
Yeah, because I think, what comes with that is the danger. If you keep it inside, and probably everybody here has experienced this, you keep it inside, it's going to blow up. It's going to come out. And unfortunately, if you're not conscious about letting it out at the right time or letting it out as you go to take the pressure off of that pressure cooker, it's going to come out at the wrong time and on the wrong person, usually somebody that you care about, someone that's close to you. So hopefully today was helpful and that you picked up some tips on stress and realize it's okay to have the emotion, let it go, focus on what you can control, and have the best days that you can have with the most mental real estate being used for what your goal is for the day. So hopefully everyone enjoyed it today. If you did, give us some thumbs up in the chat. You can reach out and follow us on whatever your favorite podcast forum is. We'll be happy to follow us. And we just thank you all for joining us. And we will see you next time on the Salon Owner Evolution Revolution podcast.
Thanks, Sean. Bye. Yes, sir. Bye for now, guys.
Thanks for listening to the Evo Revo podcast. If you like today's episode, please subscribe, leave us a review, and you can always get more information, including show notes and the video episodes at evorevopodcast.com.